Right, well, welcome to DBF1 Season 5 as we begin a brand new season on the F1 25 game. Handling has changed, some tracks have changed, and we have a driver lineup change. This is going to be an exciting season. We've got plenty of races to come, and after this season, we would have done 73 races at DBF1. My name is Jess Ball. I'll be your commentator throughout the entirety of the season, and it's good to have you along throughout the entirety, and hopefully you enjoy fantastic racing. And if you want to know what's going on with the season, we've got a calendar to share you right now. So we've got 2 races per night. The first race starts with short quali and then a 35% race. And the second race of the night will be a 1-shot qualifying and a 25% race. A 35% race will have a safety car. The second race will not have a safety car. So this week we start with Australia and China. Then we go to Japan and Bahrain next week, Saudi Arabia and Miami the week after. That's the week I'm missing because I've got some real life commentary commitments that week. Then on the 23rd of July, we've got Imola and Monaco. Then we head to Spain and Canada. And it's basically following the real life calendar to a T. And it's going to be very, very exciting. And you do get points for if you finish in the top 5 in qualifying. So a huge incentive for drivers to do well here as well. And we have got a tier lineup as well, as you can see on your screen. Full 20-car grid for this season. Not everyone's here tonight. We only got 11 drivers at the moment. Hopefully more people would join very soon. And we've got quite a few reserves. Now, according to Dive Bomb Odds, as I like to call it, the favourite to win the championship is Darky. Unfortunately, he's in a cast at the moment, so he's not able to race for 6 weeks. Do I believe that? I'm not entirely sure, but he is not going to be racing. So there are plenty of drivers that I think could still have the odds of winning it. Waze being one of them, of course. He's a TGP champion as well. We got Daniel, Jake. Those drivers I feel like could be a standout in terms of the championship. And we have some real dark horses as well. But without further ado, we are about to get on with the first track of the evening. They're in the middle of their qualifying right now. As we head... Oh, I don't know why the background music got muted there. I do apologise. But anyway, we head to Australia. First G to Formula 1 back in 1996, this Albert Park circuit. The circuit length is 5.418 kilometres, 3.366 miles. Race distance, 153 kilometres with a 50% race. But of course, we have got a 25% race this evening. So are you ready to see some cars out on track? I know I am. So let's get started. I've been dying to commentate on a full season for a long time. Of course, my other league doesn't start for a while, but this is a league to watch on a Wednesday night. And let us know who you're supporting in the chat. Didn't know there was some XP stuff for the YouTube live chat. That's the first time I've heard of it, but there we go. So, here we go then. The F1 25 game, of course, is a lot different in terms of the time model, so they've got to be aware of that. The ERS application as well is going to be quite different. I have learned quite a few new things in terms of what has basically changed in terms of like which is the best ERS mode for which corner. And there's quite a few LiDAR tracks as well on this game. This is one of the LiDAR tracks, which is the track has been made to look like real life a bit more, which does look really nice, to be fair. And I really hope that you guys like it as well, as we're seeing one of our drivers, Chris Johnson, going up to the line on a set of the medium tyres in the McLaren. Of course, McLaren had a fan zone in Trafalgar Square, which entirely filled up today, which is quite incredible. And a decent lap time for Chris Johnson on the medium compound of tyres, which is very good. So well done to him so far. The Australian Grand Prix has become a fixture on the F1 calendar since 1985. It used to be in Adelaide. We do know what happened in 1996, where we saw Brundle went upside down. I do not know how he survived, to be honest, but he did survive. And obviously he's here now in the commentary, doing commentary in real life as well. So very, very interesting indeed. So we've got a few new drivers that we are joining the fold at Dive Bomb F1, of course. It's only been going for 5 seasons. Of course, the owner of Dive Bomb, Jack, ran last 2 seasons of TGP. That closed down, so that's why, of course, Dive Bomb is back, which is always great to see. And we are really, really hyped about what's in store at the moment for these drivers. Of course, we did a bit of testing last week in Bahrain and Spain, and Darky, again, who's not here tonight, turned out to be the fastest driver on circuit at the moment. Now, the thing that the handling has been changed on this game is people complained about the cars having too much understeer. They wanted to try and find a better balance between the mechanical grip and the aero grip. And there were certain parts where at low speed you can turn the car in and you know what it's going to do, and you could be confident in high speeds as well. That a similar balance has to be made in it to making the cars much better to drive. I've spoken to a lot of the drivers about F1 25. A lot of people are enjoying this year's game. The drivers will notice a change to the tyre models, inertias for the body tyres and transmission. And of course, the famous one stop on 35% races may be harder than what we saw on F1 24. So those are a few changes there. So your current fastest time is Deck with a 1:17.557. One of my picks for the title. Of course, out of the drivers that came from TGP2 last season, he is the highest ranked driver. So a lot of people are expected for him to do well, even though he said he doesn't feel quite confident about this year's game. But sometimes you set your expectations low and boom, you end up doing well. And I know Deck in testing was concentrating on the laps, which is fair enough. You don't really want to be showing your true pace early on in testing, because otherwise a lot of people will research on what you could do and maybe try to get better. As Deck goes 4th fastest. What about, we got one of our other new drivers, we've got Gamer James as he heads towards turn 6 now. It used to be a chicane coming up, but it is a long straight coming up as well. He's one of our new drivers to the F1 games, actually. So he's still getting used to the F1 game. I remember when I first started the F1 game, I was incredibly slower than everybody else. At every lap, at every race, I was a lap down, struggling to get into the points. And you just learn to, every season, you just aim to get better and better with the amount of practice you do, and you try and aim to get a lot of feedback from your fellow drivers. And racing against drivers that are quicker than you forces you to find ways that you can go faster and eventually become quicker and more consistent. So James goes up to the line now and he goes sit fast. Not a bad lap for his first attempt around Australia. We also got Dan on a lap right now. Jess was on a lap, but she went into the pits. Don't worry, it's not me. People are going to be confused that it's me, but it's not me. I'm in the commentary box. So Dan, of course, a multiple TGP champion, is here back at Dive Bomb F1. Great to see. He is in the Ferrari this season. He was in the RB last season, but he's moved to Ferrari. Quite a strong lineup as well with his teammate Jake, so I'm excited to see how that pairing would line up. We got Deck and Ryanberry together, which I'm excited to see as well. And we got quite a few new pairings as well. Wade's on the lap. I would see Wade as a strong contender for the title, as Dan goes up to the line. It's a decent lap. Goes second, attempt shy of pole position. I don't think he'll be... I think he'll be quite happy with that, but quite disappointed that he couldn't have improved on his lap time. We've got Jake on a lap time next as he heads towards sector 3 now. He feels like he's a bit more consistent this game. He feels like he has a bit more fun. At the back end of last season at TGP, he felt like he was struggling a little bit. And this season, he said it's a season for him to prove himself. He goes up to the line. He may get a bit of a toe from the cars in front. And it's a good lap from him as well, P3. Now the top three, quite close indeed. And that's going to be interesting as Det goes even quicker by 0.6 of a second. Look at that. That is the lap time to beat right now, and that's quicker than what I could do in Australia. So there we go. Det, the fastest man. Vitinho is out there on a lap. Almost got blocked by one of the Ferraris. It is Vitinho next as well. Oh, he had a bit of a squirm heading towards the beginning of the last sector. We've got both Williams out there on track right now. So he heading towards past pit lane. That's where we saw Oscar Piastri go off in real life, of course. So can Vitinho beat Dek's time even when he went wide? No, he cannot. I'm almost certain he could have gone a second or two quicker without that squirm. So let's watch Waze. Waze, I feel, has been very excited about this game for a very long time. He feels like he could do very well in this championship. This looks quite tidy for the Williams driver. Is it going to be good enough for pole, though? Answer to that on a postcard. Nope, being validated. So, I need to get the track map up so I could see if people have been validated or not. So that's most people done on their first laps. So everyone will make their way through into the pit lane now to warm up their tyres. But we got Tony Parr. That's going to be the one that's going to be out of sync a little bit. So is James as well. So we'll keep an eye on them and see if they can improve on their lap times as well. I think for some drivers, it's all about improvement. It's the first, obviously, season on F1 25. Some people may not get used to a game until the second season. So we'll gradually see drivers get better and better each season and even each race, which will be great to see. And I was going to do some bets for who I think is going to, like, out of all the drivers, who I think is going to win. But I completely forgot about that one. Tony Parr is almost 3 tenths up on his previous best. And the turn 6 and 7 looked like he... it felt like he was a bit more hooked in. And just an interesting fact around here, over 70% of a lap at Albert Park is spent at full throttle. So ERS management in the race and in quality is going to be extremely key for these drivers. And in real life, it takes about 4 weeks to assemble this circuit. It is a street circuit. People may not think it's a street circuit, but it is. It looks completely different in normal day-to-day life compared to, obviously, Formula 1. Tony, what can he do? What is lap time going to be in the Haas car? 1:17.9. Not too shabby. Very tidy. We've got James out there on a lap next, who has invalidated his run. That is very unfortunate. So he's going to go into the pits now. If I was him, I would go into the pits so he's able to go again. It'll be interesting in the chat to hear your thoughts on who you think is going to be pole position for today's first round of Dive Bomb F1 Championship. We've got a few people on outlaps. Dan has just started his run. Stereogram has just finished in a P9 at the moment. Jess is just gone on her outlap. And everyone else is in the pits. So Dan, I think, would probably just do 1 lap, then 1 in lap, and then 1 push lap again. That's probably what he's going to be doing. I can't remember entirely how long the sauce will last in a 35% setting, but we will keep an eye on that because even the drivers may not know the exact strategy that they would want to go on in today's race. And it's a track where it needs quite a bit of fuel as well. Not too much, and we know Australia can bring out a form of safety cars. So, Dan's going to be the first driver to set a benchmark lap. Nope, he's backed off. Never mind. Jess is purple sector 2. Okay, I hope that's not the game turning porcupines, but sector 2 for her looks very, very good in the Kick Sauber. Of course, a fan of Kick Sauber on, if you follow her on X, formerly known as Twitter. And Sauber in real life, last week in, I can't remember what track it was, Austria, that's it, doing quite well with both Hulkenberg and Bortoleto. Bortoleto scoring his first points of Formula 1. Jess goes up to the line, P5, wow. So from 2nd to 7th, it's quite tight. This could be a close championship with the best of the rest, I would say. I know Stereogram is in the middle of his lap as well. Nope, he's not. He goes into the pit lane. So we got people's last opportunities to really give it their all here this evening. There'll be people going out on circuit right now. Don't forget, this is not the only race this evening. We have got China. So we've got Australia hit it first, which is a 35% race with a safety car. Then we've got China, which is a 25% race, no safety car. We kind of just swapped it round from last season. It kind of feels like, obviously, the first race more strategic. Some people might get tired after that, so they just got a 25% race. Think about one strategy. You don't have to worry about safety cars. You know, ideally, what fuel you want to put in the car and stuff like that. So there we go. So everybody is on either outlaps or flyers. Wade has just started his run. He has the only driver not to set a lap time yet around this Albert Park circuit. Past turn 7, which is a quick left-hander, with enough downforce could be taken flat out. And you're going to be heading in towards a very tight chicane coming up very, very soon. You wouldn't want to use that much ERS until you head to this bit. Through turn 10 and 11. Heavy braking zone coming up. 3rd or 4th gear on entry. And we'll see if it's enough for him to climb him up through the order. Or will it be good enough for pole position? Of course, Williams has done well in real life before. Could the same be said by Waze Cooper? Waze goes up to the line. And he goes 2nd. Not enough for pole. So at the moment, Deck is the favourite right now. We got people on runs. Chris Johnson's about to start his flyer very soon. Then we got the Kick Sauber of Gamer James about to start his flyer lap now. So we'll watch him in a moment. We got the only Aston Martin, because of course Ryan Berry is not here. Where is he? I have no idea. So he's a sole Aston Martin. He wants to technically win the Constructors, he said, but I know he's definitely capable of winning the driver's title this season. People are saying Darky's a favourite. Well, I think Deck's a favourite because he's more consistent. Heading through the final corner. Everybody wants to be the first pole position man of F1 25. Could Deck be the man? Can he improve on his lap time by 0.3 per second? Very, very good from him. That is impressive for the highest ranked TGP2 driver on the grid. Vitinho. Can he beat his teammate? It looks a very tidy last corner from him. And it is going to be a 1:17.6 that puts him into 3rd place. Then we got one of the Ferraris. We got Dan finishing his lap now. He's going to need a miracle if he wants to claim pole position. He's done well here before. Of 1:17.5, improved by 6/100ths of a second. We got one of the drivers gone into the pits. Pretty much everyone's gone into the pits. The only other driver that's out is Gamer James. He's on the medium sides right now. And if he improves on the mediums, it'll be very impressive. I think he improved a little bit on time, which is very, very impressive for him. So there we go. So your first pole position man for the first season of Dive Bomb F1 on F1 25 is Deck. So Acon 95 is on pole position by almost 0.5 per second. And then we got Wade in 2nd. So we got a 4/10 gap separating them. Then we got Dan Wilner in third. And they're not that far behind him by a few 100ths of a second. Vitinho. They're not that far. I think it's about 2 100ths. Jack Craig. There we got Chris Johnson not that far behind. Jess taking a good lap as well. Tony and Jake not that far behind either. I'm going to watch out for third downwards, I would say. And then we got James and Stereogram bringing up the rear. Talk about that qualifying session. That was pretty incredible to start. And of course, the top 5, they start off with some points. So Deck currently is your championship leader for Dive-Bomb F1 before we even started. And Jack just put it in the chat. Thank you, Jack. Much appreciated. So, yes, Deck starts as your championship leader. Then Wade in second, Dan in third, Vitinho fourth, and Jack Craig in 5th place. Of course, you get it for one-shot qualifying as well. And one-shot qualifying is the point where lots of people make mistakes, a lot of people invalidate. So watch out for one-shot qualifying later on around China. That's going to get intense, I have to say. But we've still got this race to sort out first. We still got, I can't remember how many laps exactly it is around Australia. 20 laps, I believe, around Australia. And my recommendation, if I was to do a race around it, it depends on the safety car, but because there's a safety car, if I was a driver here, I would start on the mediums and probably pit onto hards around about lap 6 or 7. But you can pit lap before, and that you can, if there's a safety car, you can pit very early for hards. Hard to mediums is quite viable, but you got to hope that there's no safety car. So that is the strategies I would think of. I wouldn't go on the softs around here. I tried softs around here on a 35% race once, and yeah, I would not recommend it. I would not recommend it. So drivers are choosing their strategies right now, and you can't see it on your screen, but I can. I could see, because McLaren was top of the constructors last year, I could see possible strategies from a certain McLaren car, and they're probably not going to notice that person. They're probably going to change their mind now on what tyres they go on. I know some people would want to go on to Race Director as well and see what strategy people will go on. So yes, and we're about to get underway. Okay, no formation lap. I was expecting a formation lap, but no, we are underway racing here today. And I don't know why they've got halos on their head, but anyway, Deck leads the way with Vitinho in P2, and Vitinho's come across the line in P1. And I don't know what's happened there with Vitinho. He's dropped by to the back of the field. So it is Deck from Dan, from Jack Craig, from Chris Johnson, from Alpha Jess, from Tony, from Vitinho, Gamer James, Jake, Stereogram, and Waze has dropped to the back of the grid. So something must have happened between the two Williams cars. But Deck is already pulling up the gap quite nicely indeed. We've got Jake up the inside of Gamer James in towards turn 9. There he goes, and he gets P8 away from the Kick Sauber driver. Apologies, let me see what's happened with the graphics, because the graphics is an absolute nightmare right now, and I don't know what's gone on. Now, I do not want to confirm changes. No, it's fine. Weird. Very weird. But apologies about that. You're going to have to live with it right now. And it's the first time I've gone on spectator view around Australia for quite a long time. So, we've got the two McLarens fighting. Jack Craig doing very well in third place. He feels like it is his game right now. And he's got Chris Johnson chasing the back of him. Of course, McLarens are doing well in real life. They're leading the Constructors' Championship in real life. And they're doing well. They could lead it by the end of tonight. We got James and Wade getting for their pit stops early because, of course, they had a bit of damage. We've got Wade who's gone on to hards. Most people started on the mediums, apart from Jess, who went on hards, and Vitinho, who went on softs. So those are your changes right now and your strategies. But to be honest, mediums were probably the tyre that I would go on right now. So you can see the top two running away with it right now. But Chris Johnson He's got the DRS, and of course the dirty air on this game plays a bit more of a factor around here. It's going to be a lot harder to get past when in DRS, and that's what Jess is trying to do as she tries to get past Chris Johnson. And things are going to be made quite a bit more difficult for her as she tries and also defend from Bettinio, Tony and Jake. We've got quite a bit of a DRS train forming right now. Dan Wilnut trying to do the same on Deck, as he sets his mind on P1. He's got the fastest lap of the race so far, as he has used quite little ERS right now, as he's tried to mainly use it on the attack in towards turn 8 and 9, the long back straight. I think quite a lot of people will potentially want to try and go for exactly the same thing. And I think that the moves that we will see here is probably between this back straight at the moment. Chris Johnson not close enough to get past Jack Craig. If you're too close with the dirty air, it's gonna really distract you in terms of obviously the grip that you have, and the tyre wear is going to play a massive factor as well. We already got our first 3-second time penalty of the evening, and that goes to Dan Wilnut. So the first time penalty of the season belongs to Dan Wilnut at the moment, which is not what he wants, but he's going to do all he can to try and get past Deck right now. Apologies, by the way, that I completely forgot that there was no formation lap. And I forgot to check the chat as well. I'm an absolute idiot. But we're about to start. Well, we're on lap 4 at the moment. Look at Tony. He was quite close to Bettinio on the back of that last lap. So you can see Bettinio's sauce really starting to die here. And I think he'll probably be the one that does an early pit stop. So I think Bettinio's got a lot of work to do to defend, but it can be done. Because obviously with tracks like these, it could be harder to overtake with dirty air. And drivers like Jess and Wade would not want a safety car, whereas ones on the mediums would want a safety car. Chris Johnson has dropped back off the back of Jack Craig. He's out of DRS, which is allowing Jess to try and sneak in towards turn 9. She thought about it, but she thought, nah, it would have caused an incident. So she's going to wait a little bit, maybe in towards turn 11 now. But again, hard to overtake just yet. And the McLarens are doing a very good job to make sure Jess does not have a sniff. I have to say, fair play to Jack Craig and Chris Johnson right now. So we're on about to start lap 5 of 20. Daniel P. Wilnut still giving Deck and keeping him honest right now. So we've got Jess to the right-hand side in towards T1, a bit of contact, but Jess is up into 4th place right now. So good pace on those hard tyres. Are those mediums starting to die a lot quicker than we expected, which should help Jess a little bit with this hard stint. Maybe the hards have come to life a little bit as she try and close it in on a Jack Craig. Chris Johnson is going to make sure he doesn't drop off of the back of Jess, and who wants to make sure that he stays within DRS? Tony is trying to do the exact same to what Jess did, but on at the back of Bettinio. Bettinio is probably defending for all his life. Tony is probably a bit frustrated that he can't get past Bettinio, but he eventually tries to get past, shuts the door and says, thank you very much, I'm up into 6th. Wade gets past Stereogram up into 10th spot. Don't forget, Stereogram has not pitted yet. Top 8 pretty close together. Everyone else, of course, had to pit quite early on. So Tony climbing his way up through the field. I won't be surprised if Tony sneaks into that DRS train very, very soon. He's almost been in DRS. We'll see if he's got some ERS to burn. He's got quite a lot, so if I were him, use a bit of overtake. We got our first pit stop, unsurprisingly. Goes to Bettinio. He makes his first stop of the evening. Does he? If I were him, I'm going to set up the hard compounder tyres. No, he goes on to mediums. Okay. I don't think personally mediums could get to the end of the race, but he may think that there's a safety car and then he can go on to hards. We will see. We will see as the race goes on. And we will look. I know there was people made a... Oh, yellow flag. Who was that yellow flag for? That might be for Stereogram back in P11, but I'm not entirely sure on that one. So Waze has also got a 3-second time penalty, so I forgot to mention that at the moment. And you can see both of these drivers giving each other a lot of respect, saving ERS not thinking about budging until it's the right moment to do so, because if you push too much, you're going to be in a spot of trouble. As Jess trying to go for the lunge on Jack Craig now, so she's got past 2 McLarens. So she's going to like this hard stint. And all she's got to do is maintain those and keep ahead of those 2 McLarens until the pit stop. And Jack could realistically still try and get past Jess, but he's got to manage his tyres a lot more effectively. So we will see as the race goes on how that affects. Jack Craig might go for a lunge again. He's going to try. He's got DRS, a bit of contact, a bit of a swerve as well from Jack Craig. Maybe a dirty air costs a bit of time now. I don't know. It might be looked at the stewards. I don't know, but it just looked like a bit of a mistake from Jack Craig, unfortunately, which did allow his teammate and Tony to be like, hello, I'll try and go for the move. Another yellow flag, that is for Stereogram. We can see Jack Craig getting the DRS, and I think he's going to try and make his way past now, which he does. And he's going to get a double dose of DRS here. So he's going to burn the battery and keep Jess behind. So Jack Craig doing a brilliant job on that one. Tony almost got past Chris Johnson, but Chris Johnson was like, no, thank you. I will see you later, as Nico Hulkenberg would like to say it. Luckily, the graphics, I think, has sorted itself out now. So that is good news. I'm very chuffed about that, but there we go. So we are seeing a lot more fights with these people, but Daniel has got closer and closer to deck now. Could this be the battle for the lead that we're looking for? We'll have to wait and see. He goes for the lunge, a bit late on the brakes. He could have gone for it, but not ideal. Chris Johnson gets past Jess. I wonder if she's overcooked it on her tyres. Maybe her tyre temperatures are not the best right now, as Chris Johnson defends to the inside, and Chris Johnson keeps being for incredible stuff from Chris Johnson, but he's losing time to Jack Craig in front of him, and he can't afford to lose time in front of him, because look at that, he's out of DRS, which will allow Jess and Tony to close in ever so slightly. I think I'm going to keep my close eye on Tony here, because Tony has got a good box office seat to have a chance to go for that move. He's 2/10 behind Jess right now, but with Jess having a DRS, it's going to make things a lot more difficult to try and get past at the moment. So Tony just waiting and waiting, and all that squabbly, that could allow Jade back into this as well. Well, lap 8 of 20, and so far we've had no safety car. But Jack Craig decided to go to the pit. A lot of people are probably going a lot later than I thought, but lap 8 is the predicted pit window. So Jack Craig is going in the time I predicted. So he goes on to the hard tyres, and that will go to the end of the Grand Prix. So will this undercut help? And we do know around here, especially, the undercut could be powerful. As Jess, oh no, Jess made a mistake on the exit of 4. So that's allowed both Chris Johnson and Tony to get past now. Jess is not doing well with managing her tyres. Maybe her tyre pressures are not the best right now. I do not recommend using time trial setups for this game, because with people having race setups, of course, time trial setups is more suited to time trial and qualifying. James goes in and pits for his potentially last stop of this race. Now, because of Jess struggling and Tony and Chris in this fight as well, this will allow Jake to the freight and also to be in this train. Tony almost got past Chris Johnson, but couldn't quite do it right now. If I was one of them, I would pit if I were you. But Deck and Dan saw, obviously, that someone pitted a lap ago and pitted as well. Chris Johnson pitted. Of course, he could have pit the same time as his teammate, so he had the right to stay out. Wade has got another time penalty. So we've got Tony, Jess, and Jake staying out. Jess, understandably, because she's on hards. Tony and Jake are the only ones who have not pitted from the mediums. They're going to hope that there's going to be a safety car to come out. But we, sometimes when you hope for a safety car to come out, it doesn't come out. As Jack goes out ahead of Chris Johnson by 2 seconds. The undercut has worked wonders for Jack Craig. Could it be on for his first podium in Dive Bomb in a long time? Jess has just got a penalty. We are starting to see more penalties creeping in. I benefited last season at TGP around here, but I gained quite a few positions due to people getting penalties and I didn't. I think I finished 5th last season. I think it was either 4th or 5th last season in TGP2 around it. It's a track that people enjoy a lot. Honestly, Tony will need to think about pitting now, because the time you're going to lose to the undercut is going to be absolutely massive. But you never know. The overcut could be more powerful around here, and I don't know about it. I have not done much league race around here, so don't quote me on it. I've only done 25% races around reverse tracks. I haven't done 25% races around other tracks yet. Or 35. So, Tony B comes into the pit. So does Jake. So that does leave Jess, the only one that's yet to stop yet. But of course, she's on hard tyres. So Deck will come out in the pretty much the net race lead with Dan in P2. Coutinho, of course, pitted way earlier, but technically he's still yet to box one more time, because surely those mediums won't get to the end of the race. Look at that undercut. Tony has lost about a second on Chris Johnson and Jack Craig because of him pitting later. Same with Jake. So, those pit stops, not ideal for those two. But for the McLarens, they'll be pretty happy with that. But Chris Johnson would have not been happy that he's lost a bit of time to Jack Craig. But you would probably lose more time if you were double stacking. So, to be fair, pretty good for both McLaren cars. And for most people that do not know, actually, this track is set around a man-altered lake, which does look pretty good around here. Of course, Oscar Piastri almost won here at the beginning of this season in real life. Didn't quite do so. As well as Oscar Piastri, there's been famous Australian motorsport figures, Alan Jones, Jack Brabham and Mark Webber. So there are some famous Australians there as well. Gap now between Dan and Deck around about 0.3 of a second. Everyone else is around about 2 seconds. Stereogram keeps having a bit of a moment in the background, but at least he's still in this race. It's not going to be that long though before he gets lapped, I believe. Unless he's lapped already. I think he might be lapped already. But to be fair, this first proper 35% race on this game. So the most important thing for some people is that he keeps it on the road. On F124, it will be easier if you have DRS to get past on this game. But on F125, a lot harder. So Dan must be getting quite a bit frustrated that he can't get past right now. Or maybe he knows something that we don't, and is just biding his time right now. He's going to try and make his tyres survive for quite a bit longer. Jay gets his first penalty of the evening. He was hoping he was going to keep it clean and try and gain up everybody else who's got penalties. But unfortunately, he's joined the list of the penalty club. So Jess, final person to pit, goes on to mediums until the end of the race. We'll see if they last, but you should do, because that's what most people did from mediums to hards earlier on in this race. So she's going to be on the softer rubber compared to most people, but she's got a lot of work to do to try and climb back up most of her rivals. But she did make a mistake though. That's helped Jake a bit because he has gained quite a bit on her on the undercut. Of course, Jess's tyres would have not warmed up just yet. So you're ordered in because everyone has pitted. Oh, what's happened there? I was meant to get the spectator menu up, but I completely forgot what the thingy. So, oh, it's down almost 4, but going for a move on. Oh, what button have I pressed? On deck. Lost a bit of time, though, on the back of turn 9. Jack's got a penalty. So, biggest gainer is Tony Parr up 2 places. We've got Dan, Vitinho, Jack Craig, Chris Johnson, and Jay up 1. Deck, Jess, Gamer James, and Stereogram stay where they are. And Waze has lost 7 places, but that was what happened at the start. But it was my fault for missing the start because I thought it was a formation lap and I thought I had time to sort my graphics out, but it turned out that I didn't. So, there we go. But here we go. I think we got Dan trying to go for the move. This could be a battle for the lead to the inside. He's going to be very late on the brakes, and if he gets it done, this will be very good for him. This would have been a perfect opportunity to get the move, but he does not. He's got plenty of opportunities to do so because they're on the same amount of tyres. They both pitted at the same time, which means we can see some very close racing between the two of them. We can see Deck making sure that Dan does not have any slipstream at all around here. Dan's going to... Ooh, a bit of a love tap between Dan and Deck. No harm done, though. Dan looked like he was going to get past there, but Deck was like, no, sirree. So I think Dan is going to try and wait another lap in order to do so. And you can see, I think someone has got a red light flashing, which means I think Deck has hardly got any ERS to play with right now. Look at Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson is closing up to his teammate yet again. And it's not going to be that long before they get past closing up to Vitinho. Because Vitinho's on mediums, and we know with him pitting at the lap that he did, those mediums won't get to the end of this race. So, Vitinho, he's going to hope there's a late safety car because everyone else could go on mediums then, or some people may stay on hard, you never know. But with 6 laps to go, anything could happen here at the streets of Albert Park in Melbourne for the first race of the season. And don't forget, there's another race coming up with a 25% race, no safety cars. We got China straight after this. And if you're liking the content at the moment, make sure you give this stream a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell if you are new so you get recommended this stream every week. We stream every week on Wednesday at 7 p.m. UK time. Dan has picked himself a 3-second time penalty, which has not that has not helped him in the slides because I think he's on. Is he on 6 seconds now? Let me check penalties. Yes, he is. So is Waze. So Vitinho, as long as he doesn't lose out that much, Vitinho could get second here. But we know that Vitinho is losing a bit of time as we speak. Look at that. Jack Craig has got better traction on Vitinho. It's looking like he can snatch a podium out there on the track. And he does. And Chris Johnson about to do exactly the same thing. And that was a very great move, but he got a penalty from doing so. I think that was an unfair penalty, personally, because I swear that was the way that Chris Johnson will take it normally, but I may have caught up on a very weird angle. But that, unfortunately, has lost a bit of ground to Tony Parr. Everyone's caught up into this train now. It's getting very interesting all of a sudden. Towards the end of the race, suddenly, it's getting intense. We saw the gaps when people pitted. And for the first few laps, things got a bit quiet. But now things are getting a lot tasty. A lot of good battles. Jake does get past Jess. And Jake's going to get the slipstream on Tony. Tony does not have any DRS. Jake has got a battery. Here comes Jake to the outside. And he gets the move done. Very nicely done indeed. But Tony Parr's going to defend to the right-hand side. Just leaving each other a bit of room. as they head towards the final corner, and Jake just about takes it. But Tony's like, nope, I'm not going to give up without a fight. I think Tony is going to get DRS here. Through towards the start-finish straight. Who's going to get the upper hand? Who's going to get P6 in towards T1? It is Jake. Oh my goodness, that was a very great move. And because of that, I missed Dan taking the lead from Declan. Was it with me losing out for battles for the leads there? But Dan did get past Deck eventually. But as it stands, Deck will win on track because Deck has got no 3-second penalties. But it depends if, obviously, Dan's penalty was a triple warning or is it an actual, like, multiple warning affair. We'll see what could Dan do here on this lap. And Dan's going to defend from Deck to the inside. He's got to try and break free of Deck now. He wants to make sure that he gets in within 3 seconds. Which he's going to try and do. It's going to be a lot harder to do so at the moment. Jake's still leading that train. But on the Jack train, it is Jack Craig leading with Chris Johnson. And Bettino's losing a bit of time there. And I doubt we are going to get safety cars right now. So we've had no safety cars at all in this race. And hardly anyone has picked up damage apart from if you're near the front. With Wade and Bettino earlier on in the race. Stereogram comes in into the pit lane for his final stop. I think he's going to try and go for the fastest lap of the race. So, very interesting final couple of laps here. A lot of position to be settled. A lot of penalties. And I have no idea on who is going to potentially do well here. It's going to be, I think, you snooze or you lose, really. You've got to take the most out of every opportunity. This is where we start to see quite a few people making more mistakes as Deck takes the lead from Dan, but the reason why I exaggerated on the word mistakes, Tony gets a penalty, and he would have climbed his way up the field. He would have pretty much almost got a podium, but his penalty has ruined all his hopes and dreams, unfortunately. But Deck takes the lead on a track, as I just went on board with him. Chris Johnson fighting. This is 4th position. With 2 laps to go of this Australian Grand Prix. Jake gets past Fatinho up into 5th place. Tony Parr tries to do the exact same thing. Almost takes out the sausage curb. Tony Parr gets past Fatinho. So Fatinho staying out on 13 lap on mediums. Probably not the best idea right now. 1/10 of a second separating between Deck and Dan on track. What Dan is hoping is for Deck to get a penalty. What Deck is hoping is for Deck to not get a penalty. So, you know, 2 drivers wanting different things right now. And with multiple people getting multiple penalties, this could be game on right now. This could be a rapid end to the race. And Jake is almost in the McLaren train, but I think the most important battle that we get to see is the battle for the win here. For the opening round of Dive Bomb F1, Jess gets past Fatinho up into 7th place. So she gets the job done there. But as we watch on, Dan, who seems to be doing a lot better on this game so far. Same with Mr. Jack Craig. But one of the title favourites, it's showing why, in my eyes, he's a title favourite. And he's defending for his life against Dan Wilnut. As Dan was late on the brakes there, that could have cost him. That could have been game over. That could have been game over for Dan Wilnut. But unfortunately, I think unless he could find he could burn all his battery on this lap and try and get past Deck, it's going to be tight. And Dan's out of DRS. He just got DRS there. He was very lucky. If I was him, I would burn a bit of battery here. We do have a yellow flag, Don't know what that's for. Oh, as Jake has had a bit of a moment in and towards turn 8. So that cost it, that he would have got 5th. But I don't know what happened there. I'll have to ask him at the end of the stream. But Deck starts his season as he means to go on. He's taken his title campaign very seriously. Deck crosses the line. He starts race 1 until championship leader by getting pole. He carries on that feat. He wins in Australia to take maximum points as Jack Craig takes 2nd. Chris Johnson takes 3rd. Tony gets 4th. Coutinho 5th. Dan drops down to 6th due to that penalty, which cost him dearly. Jess takes 7th. Oh, Jake's run out of fuel. That's why. I thought he lost it. But no, it's him running out of fuel. Oh, no. So that's why he was ghosted. I thought he lost it by himself. But no, he ran out of fuel. He's going to be so gutted. Waze, I think, could be a gutted person by making a mistake earlier on. I wondered that turn 1 incident will be investigated by the stewards, or whatever that lap one incident is. I think it will. Everyone will score points here today because everyone will finish. James comes across the line. Decent effort for his first race in league racing. I think he'll take that. Top 10. Stereo comes across the line in 11th. A lap down, and James slots himself into P10. Quite an interesting battle here, guys, towards the end of that race. And we get to see some stats on who's the cleanest driver, who got driver of the day, and I wonder if it works for 35% races, we don't know. But you get to see the updated podium celebrations. And last season in TGP2, Deck won 2 races. He can add another one to the rostrum, but this time his first win in Dive Bomb F1. Excellent work. The crowd cheer him on. Will we see Aston Martin in real life do well in Silverstone? We have to see. So, Deck takes the win. Waze gets fastest lap, so I think he gets a point for that. Driver of the day in game goes to Tony. Most overtake belongs to Jess, and cleanest driver, unsurprisingly, goes to Deck. So well done to him. So we'll go for your order then. I went for your order earlier, but I'll go for it again. Anyway, Deck wins from Jack Craig in 2nd. And to be honest, I can safely say that it is his game. He's done excellent work. Chris Johnson in 3rd, Tony Parr in 4th, Coutinho 5th, Dan Wilner in 6th, Jess in 7th, Jake in 8th, Waze 9th, Gamer James in 10th, and Stereogram in 11th spot. And quite close in terms of fastest laps there, which was quite interesting. No rain, no safety car. That's probably the first 35% races that I've commentated on in a long time that we've seen no safety cars. But there we go. And I think we saw Dan lose time. I thought he also ran out of fuel as well, because I think Go Ferraris did a Ferrari bottle job. You saw Dan slow down because I'm just seeing in the chat, he's run out of fuel as well. So yeah, Ferrari in real life. So pretty much the Ferraris in Dive Bomb are exactly the same as Ferraris in real life. They bottle the strategy. Do not fuel for a safety car, ideally. Fuel, just pretend that there's no safety car. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. So I think, obviously with a new game, not many people are going to know what fuel to use up and how much fuel to put in the car. To be honest, I still don't even know how much fuel to put in the car, but there we go. So we head to China next, which is a very interesting track. So China was first used in Formula 1 back in 2004. The circuit length is 5.451 kilometers, 3.350 miles. And the lap record set by Oscar Piastri. this year with a 130.641. I'm just trying to find the track on my track maps, but I can't seem to find it. I might be being blind, but I can't find the China track map, which is a bit frustrating, so I thought I had it with me. Aha, there we go. I found the track map, eventually. That's what you get by trying to work on stuff on the fly here. So, the track was built in April 2003. It was built under a marshland in the Jiading district of Shanghai. It costed about $450 million to make. And the first vision of a Chinese Grand Prix came in the 1990s. This circuit is located 20 miles north of the center of China's largest city in Shanghai. And this is one of the tracks designed by Hermann Tilke. Name rings a bell. And in recent years, because of the ground the track is built on, there was some track turns that was sunk, and there was a full inspection before the 2011 Grand Prix to solve the issue. And before, obviously, last year, the last time Formula 1 racing in China was in 2019, because COVID in China, of course, was quite strict, and there were lockdown after lockdown after lockdown to control the spread of the virus. Unfortunately, though, the Grand Prix has been declining in recent years, which is a bit of a shame because China is always very good. Difficult corners, I have to say. First few corners, especially turn 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's a 270-degree right-handed corner combination, and you've got to be careful modulating the throttle and braking. Quite a bit of radius increase as well as the corners progresses. You've got to turn sharply and brake hard. Trail braking, I would say, is quite crucial around here. And I will have to say, it's one of those tracks where it requires a lot of skill. I almost got pole here, and I had a very good race as well around here in TGP2 last season. So we have got standings for you, so I'm going to get that up on my screen right now. So I will get that up as I do a bit of tinkering. And then I could add it up on my screen then. That'll be quite good. That'll be quite good. So it would help if I had an image prepared. But do I have an image prepared? No, because Jess is an idiot. Right. And why did I call it JPP instead of JPEG? You can tell I've had a bit of brain fog today. It's been a long day at work. Had support on an event and it was quite crazy. Anyway, here are your standings, ladies and gentlemen, for after race 1 and after the first qualifying session. So, Deck leads the way on 30 points. An 18-point gap, which is quite massive, to Jack Craig in second. I can't believe I'm saying Jack Craig's in second, but yeah, he is. As the drivers have been asked to ready up. Chris Johnson in third, Tony in fourth, Fortunio fifth. And basically, it's your order from the first race. But of course, some people did well in qualifying, which has helped him a little bit as well. So of course, everyone that finished tonight has got some points. So job is a good one there. Who do you think is going to do well here around China? One shot qualifying around China, just like last year. I expect Dan to do well here. He did well in qualifying in TGP2 last season, but he invalidated his lap, I think, final corner, which cost him pole. It would have been pole. And turn 13 and 14, I would see quite a few people losing a bit of time as well. So how everyone's grabbed their popcorn. I hope everybody has got drinks. We are about to get started, as we are missing 2 drivers. We are missing 2 drivers. I don't know what happened. Luckily, Deck did not disconnect during the race, because that would have not been the ideal situation for him. I could see if I could invite Deck, but I don't think I have him on EA. I think what I might do for next week is I might see if I can, like, add people on EA, I think. That would probably be, No, I do not have him. I do not have him. And Tony is saying that they want people to hurry up because Love Island starts at 9. Wait, Love Island's back? I don't even know if it is. Like, is Love Island back? Personally, I'm not a Love Island fan. But I can understand why people like Love Island. There we go. And Wobcat in the chat, massive shout out to you. What a race, GG's. It was a good race. It was a great race to watch. Who just left? It was Stereogram that left. And people are staying start without him. So we could just have 10 drivers ahead of China, which won't be ideal. I'm hoping we could get 11 drivers in. So we are waiting. We are waiting for people. Now, I would start a poll around here on this chat on who I think going to do well in China, but I don't know how to do polls, and I don't think you can do polls with the type of account that Dive Bomb has. Right, I do have some facts though. I have come prepared here, folks, on what we could talk about whilst we wait for the session to begin. I think I've got about 6 or 7 facts, so we could be here for long. So if drivers want to get going and not be bored by my facts, then hopefully they could join the lobby. Anyway, so one interesting fact I just found out the other day, as Shanghai International Circuit is built on marshland, the track is held in place by 40,000 stone pillars. And this was a track where we saw Red Bull took their maiden victory in 2009. Would you guessed it? Sebastian Vettel. And Nico Rosberg won his first Grand Prix back here in 2012. Michael Schumacher took his 91st and final career win in Shanghai, which I could almost cry at that moment, actually. It's quite crazy. And did you know that the Chinese Grand Prix has had 4 different title sponsors over the years, hosting Grand Prix? Sinopec, UBS, Pirelli, and for 2027, Häkkinen. Lewis Hamilton is the only driver to win back-to-back races at Shanghai, doing so in 2014 and 2015. And with the inaugural 2004 race at Shanghai, Rubens Barrichello beat Jenson Button to the finish line by just 1.035 seconds in the inaugural 2004 race, which remains the closest winning margin in Shanghai. Oh, to be fair, I was expecting more. I was expecting a bigger margin, to be honest, but there you go. There you go. Oh, you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask AI for a fact about China. Here we go. Never rely on AI, folks, but I'm just going to do it for fun, and I know it may be true. Facts about the F1... Oh, come on. Chinese Grand Prix. I was having fun with AI at work today, asking random facts about things. So according to AI, most wins driver, Lewis Hamilton, 6 victories. Most wins constructors, Mercedes with 6 victories. They got the historic wins right. And they got the marshland right. Okay. There's quite a lot of bits that are right here. Let me ask for an funny F1 China fact. This is what you get, folks, whilst we wait for a race to get going. Oh yes, who could forget the gravel trap blunder for Lewis Hamilton 2007? That could have costed a title for Lewis. That did cost a title for Lewis Hamilton. So in his rookie season, Lewis Hamilton was leading in the championship going into the Chinese Grand Prix, but during the race, McLaren left him out too long on worn tyres. When he finally came into the pit, he slid up into the gravel trap at the pit lane entry and got stuck. He retired from the race, costing him a chance to clinch the title early. It was a bizarre and iconic moment and became one of the most meme-worthy moments in F1 history. So there you go. That's what AI thinks is the most funniest moment in F1 Chinese Grand Prix history. So there we go. That honestly, that was quite funny. But honestly, I was a Lewis Hamilton fan, and back then in 2007, that wouldn't have been good. I think, of course, I think we are trying to get Deck in. Deck is having problems, so we might have to get going soon. And Deck keeps getting error codes. That is not ideal. So the title favourite, I might have just cursed him. So he may have to join later on in qualifying, and if he doesn't rejoin, then it's going to be absolutely gutting for him. So we are now down to 9 drivers, unfortunately. And yeah, we got no stereogram either. He's exhausted, bless him. So yeah, he's not going to be racing tonight for China. So shame we've only got 9 drivers, but if it was testing, I would have not streamed this bit. But since it is the first race of the season, of course we have to cover this. It's just a shame we've got less drivers. MP23. When the game is loaded via needs to get manually closed. Oh, that's what Deck needs to do. Deck, you pretty much need to close your game. You can't just go exit or whatever. You need to properly close your game and restart your console and all that. So hopefully Deck can join soon. And hopefully he'll be able to join in qualifying. If not, it will be an idiot if it doesn't work. So and why was my mic muted then? Why was my mic muted just then? It was crazy. So it might be muted for quite a bit. I do apologise. But we are back racing here in China. Welcome to round number 2 of the championship as we head to the Shanghai International Circuit. We hardly have any drivers for this one, but that still doesn't mean we're not going to get some fantastic racing. We are going to get some fantastic racing. Welcome to one-shot qualifying. The last race winner around here with these drivers was with Deck, but it depends if Deck joins in time. So let's go on board with Jack Craig. Why not? The one I tend to go on board with in most leagues tends to have a nightmare at the moment. No, I want to go on board with Jack. No, never mind. Let's go on board with P1. Let's go on board with P1 right now. So pass in towards turn 5. They're going in towards turn number 6. Flicks the car left. He struggles a bit for traction there, but this is the place where you do need to be careful on the throttle a little bit on this game. 7th gear, but I usually take it in 6th, flip the car right. 5th gear, 3rd or 4th gear, depending on how confident you are at the moment. You can see quite a few invalidations around it. Nicely taken from Tony, which has gained him a lot of time, which put him all the way up into 4th place. Heading towards turn 12 and 13. Very understeery part of the track coming up. Through into the back straight. This is where you need a lot of straight line speed here. We will see who's got a car designed for downforce or who's got the car designed for straight line speed. As Tony heads towards the final few corners. We got our pole sitter, who looks like it's going to get pole. As long as he doesn't invalidate on the final corner like he did in TGP2 last season. But this time, that looked very tidy. A 1:34.0 for the Ferrari driver. And he's going to be very happy with that. Redemption, he says. after what happened in China last season for him. So, everyone set a valid lap. Dan, P1, Jess, P2, Waze, P3, Chris Johnson in 4th, Tony Part in 5th. Those get points for qualifying. So, another more points to add to their championship tallies. Jake in P6. There we go. Vitinho in P7, Gamer James in 8th, and Jack Craig P9. I don't know what happened to Jack Craig then, but he lost quite a bit of time there. Hopefully we can get Jack joining us very, very soon. But we are about to go racing. I will... oh, it looks like Deck can't join. Deck can't join, so we might have a new championship leader going into this round. But we do have a 25% race coming up. No, it's safety car. No, I do not want to find out about my Experian credit score. I want to find out who's leading the Constructors, thank you. Right. Constructors Championship. I did talk to you about the drivers. Constructors, McLaren are leading the way on 34 points. Then it's Aston Martin in 2nd, Williams in 3rd, Ferrari in 4th, Sauber 5th, Haas 6th, Mercedes 7th. Red Bull Racing Bulls and Alpine yet to score because I believe their drivers are not here. So there we go. Let us know who you think is going to do well here. Luckily, I'm prepared this time, guys, because there's no formation lap. Knowing me, there would be, but there is no formation lap. So, welcome to the 4 of you that are just tuned in to Dive Bomb F1 for round number 2. The circuit layout is based on the Chinese Shan character, which means to ascend, and also gives Shanghai its name. So there we go. That's how that's how Shanghai got its name, to ascend. I've learned some Chinese, everybody. To be fair, though, honestly, I mean, I did do a bit of Chinese, was about year 7 or year 8 or something. And all I knew was ni hao ma. That's all I knew. And I think we're about to go racing. Here we go. 5 red lights here in the Shanghai International Circuit. We are go. It is race time here at Shanghai as Dan gets a very good start, but Jess gets an even... oh, she almost got a good start, but Daniel got a better getaway here as we got contact being made in the background here as quite a few drivers went off in towards turn 2. But it's Dan from Jess, from Waze, from Bettino, from Gamer James as unfortunately Jake's console's turned off, which is allowing Tony's AI to get past, but Jake has just joined, luckily, so all good on that front. As we can see, Waze just got past Jess, up into P2, so great move from him. He's looking for redemption after a poor race in Australia. So far for most people, they got away well, but there was a bit of squabbling in the background. This is a track where it is very hard on the tyres, but luckily it's a one-stop race, so some people could do medium to soft strategy. We will find out very soon. We will get your tyre strategy coming up for you right now as well. Everyone's opted for mediums, except James on the hards and Jack Craig on the softs. I wouldn't have gone for the soft compounder tyres, personally. But there we go. Obviously, Jack Craig trying to be brave and gaining as many positions as he can. Tony just get past Gamer James, up into 6th. Holding on to quite a few positions, Gamer James, so he's doing quite a good job. So we'll see if the top 3 can keep in that train. Bettino trying to do the same as Wade's made a mistake. Wade has made a mistake through turn 2. And his tyre is definitely overheated right now. And he's dropped down into 6th because of it. Commentator's curse. What do you get, Abe? I don't like that. Commentator's curses and me. No thanks. That's allowing Dan to stretch the gap to 1.4 seconds over Jess at the moment. Vitinho in third, Tony in fourth, Gamer James in fifth, Wade in sixth. We'll see how... you know what? I will get the ERS as well, so I can see if people are using Hot Lap. I know Dan is using Hot Lap for a lot of this as well. And quite a few people think that medium will be the best option so they can gain quite a bit of traction at the moment. For those who just joined us, welcome to the Chinese Grand Prix for round 2 of Dive Bomb F1. I'm Jess Ball in the commentary box, and you can see pretty much everyone's just having their own little race at the moment. We've had a bit of a pile up at the start right now, but everyone's just finding their feet a little bit. Unfortunately, Jake has left the session again. To be fair, though, it is quite a hot day here in the UK, and there will be quite a lot of PS5s that are overheating. So, to be fair, I'm not surprised if people's PS5s keep overheating like that. But we're on lap 3 on 14. A lap ago, DRS has been enabled by the stewards. So that means it is hammer time for a lot of drivers. But I can't really say that because the only one who is in DRS range is Jack Craig. But he's trying to get past an AI of Jake, which I think is going to be quite easy. But he can't afford to stay behind that long because even with the DRS, the dirty air of an AI car, it's an absolute nightmare. So eventually he does get past though. So all is good. We can see now Jess and Vitinho almost got on within DRS range. You can see Jess trying to do well harvesting that ERS. Vitinho has got less ERS compared to the top 3. Dan has got, I think, roughly the same as Vitinho right now to manage. He'll probably try and dump it, a bit of Hot Lap on the back straight, which he does. Let's see what Jess could do in the background. And Vitinho. Vitinho is a little bit further back to do anything about it. But we'll see how Vitinho could cope with the next couple of laps or so, because he's also got a point to prove as well. Tony, I think we just saw someone get, we got James and Waze having a bit of a battle. I think it was Waze that got past James, I believe. The McLaren seem to be struggling at the moment because we can see Chris Johnson and Jack right at the back. But obviously Jack had a bit of a moment earlier on, and Jack is forced, of course, to pit. He's pitting early because we knew realistically that those softs were they just weren't going to make it. They weren't. So Jack's going to go on hards to the end, and he's going to hope that those hards last. Will that undercut pay off for him? We'll have to wait and see. What's the gap closed down to now? It's around... It was about 9/10 of a second, but Jess lost a lot of time through turns 8 and 9. Gamer James doing a great job getting past Waze just then. A move that I missed there. So I wonder if it's a mistake from one of the drivers, or if it was just James having a great move. So very interesting to say the least between these two right now. We'll see how that battle plays out very soon as well. We've got Ray's right on the back as he tries to get the car settled down this back straight. Burns all the battery. Burn, baby, burn, says Waze as we get on the DRS. And he has got less to play with now as we head towards the hairpin. Late on the brakes, and Chris Johnson's like, here I come, sunshine. Waze was caught unawares, and Chris Johnson is up into P6. So that is going to be an interesting fight between the two of them now. Chris Johnson now tries and close in on Waze. As I was just telling Bazza, who won the first race. Deck won the first race, but Deck has console issues and he can't join back. So the championship could just swing on his head right now. Vitinho, I think, could be the one that could make the next move right now. He's got 35% ERS as he's keeping with his meters quite well. I was speaking to him a few days ago when I was racing with him in another league, doing reverse tracks. He feels like his tyre management could do with a bit of improvement, but to be fair, right now he's doing all right. He just got to work towards the end of his stint as he manages his tyres well, and he will do a good job as well. Obviously, everyone is learning this game in terms of ERS management, tyre management, of course, different handling model on F125. As I think we could see, Jess used quite a bit of ERS as well. As Chris Johnson eventually gets past James. A bit of a love tap. Is James going to go on a counter-attack? No, he does not. And no, this is not Rocket League. But I like using the word counter-attack. I said that a lot when I was just doing Rocket League commentary for fun. And I was doing quite rubbish... I was having quite rubbish conversations. And my mic was like quite quiet and all that. Look how far I come, eh? We will see our first pit stops coming up in the next lap, I would say. I did have notes in terms of strategies for this race. So, the predicted strategy is, I think most people, if they're on the mediums, they would come into the pits now to set on the hards till the end of the race. And if they started on hards, they would pit in a few laps after that. So it's not really much of a delta, really, with the 25% races. And with it being no safety cars, they could be very creative on the strategies. And I like that. I like that. So, look at this top three. The top three very bunched together. And we'll see if Jess could try and go for the lead here on Dan Wilnut. Round the outside, but Dan defends to the inside, which becomes the outside. Dan trying to defend very well, and he does. Dan doing a really great job to keep the lead. And he had that gap earlier, but Bettino and Jess are doing very well to keep up the pace. You never know with these three squabbling. We could see Tony Parr, Chris Johnson close in, you never know. And I've just seen a chat, oh no, PS5 is cut. I had a feeling it was that due to the overheating. I had a feeling that would happen. And your headset is broken as well. Ah, oh, that's gutting. That is gutting. And he's cheering on Dan as well. That's a downside to the heat wave, that the PS5 just cooks like crazy. Waze comes in, by the way, in one of the laps I would expect. He goes on to hards. I think we could see people doing medium soft strategy, like we saw with Jack Craig, but the opposite. Jack Craig was forced to go onto the hards. But we know with Jack Craig, he struggled on the softs, but that was when they had high levels of fuel. But towards the end of the race, they're going to have less fuel. So maybe they could try less levels of fuel now with the softs. Oh, look at this. Jess trying to go for the lunge with 55% ERS. Using a bit of hot lap for good measure. Jess to the inside, takes the lead. But is she able to make it stick? Yes, she does. Well, we see people going to the pits. Jess thought about it. Dan goes in. Dan goes into the pit lane. Bettino goes in as well. I think if we saw something similar to what we saw last race, I would expect the ones who pit now to be way ahead and once everyone else pits. So Dan goes on softs. I would expect soft tyres of people going in this late of the race. I don't know if those softs could get to the end. It'll be risky, but you never know on this game. Tony going on softs as well. So everyone that just pitted went on softs, apart from Waze, who's on hard tyres. But he's a little bit too further back at the moment, but the timings might change quite a bit, I think. Yep, it's fixed itself now. That's good. That's good. That is good. So, I'm trying to look at my notes at the predicted pit lane loss time. I think the pit lane loss time is 22.5 seconds. And the gap now, let me see, gap to leader, 22.2. So Dan will come out just in the lead. He will have probably a 1.5 second gap to Jess. So if I was Jess, I would come into the pits now, because otherwise you'll lose quite a bit of time. Chris Johnson, I will do the same. James, I will do the same. To go onto the soft tyres now, because the longer you stay out, the less time the more time you're gonna lose on your rivals. As Jess does come into the pits, as I get the gap in sport up. She's got to have a good pit stop, and she's got a good pit entry, which is good news for her. So I watch Dan and Vitinho, as Vitinho does take P4 from Dan, which becomes the net race leader. They're gonna keep squabbling, and it's gonna be a great fight for the win here. Where's Jess come out? She's gonna lose quite a bit of time due to this overcut. Yeah, that overcut for Jess did not work for her, but that's given good news if you're Vitinho or Dan Wilnut. As Dan takes the outside line. Dan looking to try and score as many points as he can now for Ferrari. Dan running out of fuel in the last race. He was pretty gutted with himself. He does not want to do it again. Runs deep, but takes a better line doing so. Round the outside goes Dan, and that was a very good move from Dan, and he takes the lead from Vitinho. But Vitinho is going to have DRS heading towards the back straight. So we'll see if that work has paid off. All that squabbling, by the way, has allowed Jess to get into that train. Tony could catch up before you know it as well, but don't forget there's also point for fastest lap. You can't afford to push too much early on, because from experience, I know in F124 the softs are an absolute nightmare around this track, regardless of it's a 25% or 35% or 50%. But I've not tried on F125. Vitinho almost got the job done there. Vitinho's lost a bit of ERS there, which is allowing Dan to really have the upper hand here, because Dan's got more. Jess has got more than anyone. She set the fastest final sector of anyone, trying to get past Vitinho around the outside. A bit of contact between the two. Jess has gone wide, and Jess has gone for a spin. Vitinho's got a penalty as well, so surely that's going to hand the victory to Dan. Sometimes trying to go for a move in turns 2 and 3 is a bit frustrating, but you've got to be brave and go for it sometimes, but you can't afford to squabble too much. And Dan is just allowed to play it safe at the moment, and he's doing a good job in doing so. 2/10 of a second between himself and Gamer James. Don't forget there's no safety car, so James will have to pit this lap. I don't think we see any signs of rain coming up, so it will be weather like this until the rain. And Dan does get past Gamer James, so Gamer James will go on soft this lap. Vitinho has caught up to these two once again now. And Vitinho is going to try and get past, but James is not going to make it look easy. James is going to try and defend. Vitinho to the inside. There we go. It's a bit of a scrum though for Vitinho. Vitinho up into P2. Gamer James comes in, and that will be the final driver to come in and do their stops. Tony gets P3 now from Jess. Jess struggling on those softs, unfortunately. Chris Johnson gets the fastest lap of this race. But can anyone beat that? We'll have to wait and see, as we've got a few more laps to go. This track is notoriously difficult on tyres and brakes. And like I was saying earlier, trail braking is quite important. You can't afford in some corners to turn in too early because that's where you lose it. You got to be careful on some place on the throttle as well. Anything can happen within these last few laps, and if any of you are watching, let us know who you think's gonna win, who you're rooting for the win as well. And of course, we've got plenty of races next week as well. Next week is Jeddah and Miami, I believe, and that's gonna be exciting. I've seen quite a few rumours in real life about Verstappen going to Mercedes, by the way, and I just don't believe it. Anyway, Vitinho goes into our left-hand side. Can he take the lead on track? He does. Vitinho takes the lead on track. For now, he holds on to that position. Brilliant job from him. And we're going to find out if these two can hang it on in there. As it stands, I believe we have got Dan that will take the championship lead as it stands. Because, of course, he got points in both qualifying. He got P2 in race 1. Of course, Deck not being here for race 2 due to an error code, which I honestly, I don't care. I don't know what that error code is. I've never had that error code, and it's weird. So, of course, it was a bit unfortunate for them to have the error code of death. But hopefully, of course, Deck will be back next week. As we can see what goes on for these last remaining laps of this race. Not the best entry speed for Dan, but Dan knows that if he can keep his car pointing in the right direction, then he can win this race. Simple as, but it depends on, of course, how Vitinho got that penalty. Could he get that penalty removed? I don't know. What could Dan do then? We got a yellow flag. That is one of the McLarens. That was Jack Craig that had a bit of an off. But Jess does get past Tony. Dan does get past Vitinho on a track. Might be a bit of a switcheroo between these 4 cars for the last few laps. Make sure you do not tune out. It's going to be epic with 2 laps to go. And for those of you that are wondering, I'm commentating without a fan right now, because if I did have a fan on, you would hear my fan go, and you wouldn't want that. So I'm surviving commentary without a fan. I'm sweating and I'm not even racing. Honestly, I do miss being out there on the track. But it's been fun tonight commentating. Hopefully we'll have more drivers next Wednesday. I am praying to God that that happens, please. That'll be lovely. I would love that to happen. And I think we are going to see, it's either going to be Dan or Vitinho that takes the win on track. As a reminder, people have 3 report tokens to use up. If the person they report is found to be at fault, they keep their token. If it's to be no further action, their token gets removed. Simple as. Vitinho gets past Dan on track, up into P1. Oh, no! Vitinho's had a moment. Gone off the track. Oh, no, Vitinho. That is absolutely gutted for him. As we're on the final lap. If he could have got this penalty removed, potentially, he could have tried to fight for the win on track, and that maybe he could have got the win. Oh, no, Vitinho. That is gut-wrenching for him. But honestly, up until then, Vitinho has been doing a great job out there on the circuit. His first few races on PC, and I've been really proud of him right now. But I think he's going to be a fierce contender in Dive Bomb F1 Season 5. We've got quite a few fierce contenders, some surprise contenders as well, which is very, very exciting. But honestly, it's been great to watch these drivers. And coming into this season, coming into the first few rounds, I didn't even know who was going to do well. It was a bit of the unknowns right now, as we got quite a bit of EOS usage from Vitinho. Vitinho's going to try and get past Jess on track. We'll watch this battle and then we'll go on board with our race leader. We can see, can Jess defend off Vitinho? She has to, which she does. But here comes Dan, who's done a superb job. Hopefully he's not run out of fuel this time. He comes across the line to be the second different winner at Dive Bomb F1. He wins in China, and more importantly, he takes the lead of the Drivers' Championship. Brilliant stuff from Dan. Jess takes second. Tony third, Vitinho fourth. I wonder if that Jess and Vitinho incident will be investigated. We'll have to wait and see. It all depends on the drivers. Chris Johnson, fifth. Good recovery drive from him. Waves, what could have been for him as well. He had a good start, but there were certain things that what could have been for him. So we're now waiting for Jake to cross the line. And obviously we've got Jake's AI that's still out there on track. His console, unfortunately, combusted, overheated. Quite interesting. So, commentator Jess is suffering from the stream. Guys, please either like or Jess might get a heat stroke. Honestly, Wopcap, I hope I don't get a heat stroke. Oh my goodness. But we got a Ferrari, a Sauber, and a Haas on the podium on F125. Would you get that in real life? No. But you get that at Dive Bomb F1. So we'll go through your results then before we wrap up the stream. Race winner going to Dan. Fastest... I thought I was going to have a connecting on online services there, and would have been crazy. So race winner goes to Dan. Fastest lap goes to Chris. Driver of the day goes to Vitinho. Most overtakes goes to Chris Johnson. And cleanest driver goes to Dan Wilnut. Here we go. Let's go through your race results. Dan wins from Jess in second, Tony in third, Vitinho fourth, Chris Johnson in fifth with the fastest lap, Wade in sixth, Gamer James seventh, Jack Craig in eighth, and those are your 8 finishers. And with them pretty much racing, they got some points. Simple as. And it was a shame, obviously, with Deck not being able to rejoin, and with Jake's console issues, we could have had 10 drivers tonight. But there we go. That happened. Things happen. So that is the end of the racing action tonight. Of course, you'll be kept up to date with the championship standings on our socials. So make sure, if you haven't already, please go on our socials. It is at DB_sports_TV. And you also make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that bell if you're new, and like the video so lots of people can get recommended this league. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you follow me on YouTube at JessGames95 and on X as well. That'll be great. But the next races, I will get the calendar up on my screen. Quite a few drivers will be back next week, which is good news. So that means hopefully we'll get more people. We got Jeddah and no, that's the following week. Why did I say it was Jeddah and Miami next week? No, it's not. It's Japan and Bahrain next week. I'm getting the calendar mixed up. I'm crazy. So yes, Japan and Bahrain next week. 2 iconic tracks. I'm looking forward to that. 2 other tracks which are LiDAR scanned, and I have to say Japan especially with the blossom trees looks brilliant. So looking forward to that. It'll be interesting to see how the drivers and constructors look after the first 2 races, but again, keep an eye on our socials for that. I've been Jess Ball. Thanks to everyone who engaged in the chat. Thanks to everybody who raced this evening. And we will see you same time next week around about 7:05 for the Japanese and the Bahrain Grand Prix. Take care, everyone, and good night.